and welcome to the news. As usual, a Wednesday package will take you to different parts of the country and beyond in pursuit of the Nigerian story, Nigerian trends, innovation, motivations, and in some cases, confrontations. We also track activities of the nation's citizens in the diaspora, distilling views and ensuring that every voice is heard, especially on issues affecting our daily lives. Tonight, from China with business, President Tinubu continues his state visit to China with a bag full of requests.
Willing to partner for progress and development. What is lacking will be the focus of the FOCAC and the areas that we can collaborate to make the relationship mutually beneficial.
On infrastructural development, Borno leverages an ICT skill acquisition to help youths out of despondency. On the current fuel issues, correspondent looks for the CNG alternative and returns with a tank full of answers.
I've reported the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas interface with motorists who converted their vehicles. Now, as a reporter, I've become part of the story.
And in sports, Victor Osimhen begins love affair with new club Galatasaray as Turkish giants roll out the carpet and the drums for the African Footballer of the Year. There'll be more sports news with Badi Adeleye, while Musa Abubakar will be manning the business desk with a calculator and a counter. We'll also begin our series on candidate face-off ahead of the Edo State governorship election, which is just 17 days away. It's an eclectic package, but don't take my word for it. After all, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Yanri John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. We'll begin from China, where President Bola Tinubu has expressed hope that this edition of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, will address the grey areas yet to make the relations more rewarding for both parties. The Nigerian leader and chairman, ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, expressed the belief during his meeting with the Premier of China, Li Qiang, ahead of his first FOCAC participation in Beijing. State House correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports.
The Nigeria-China partnership is getting more bases to become comprehensively strategic in nature. Just a day after meeting with President Xi Jinping, President Bola Tinubu is yet again with the Premier of China, the holder of the highest administrative position in the government and head of a state council. Here, President Tinubu assumes his toga as ECOWAS chairman and equally speaking in the interest of the continent. He appreciates that the spirit of the FOCAC is based on mutual respect and partnership that will promote development, happiness, peace and stability of the African people.
We are in this journey together. We believe that we can share a very common denominator, which is investment and development, to ensure China and African relationship is encouraged.
President Tinubu also expressed satisfaction that the strategic partnership being promoted is accepted to both sides and hopes that this forum will yield more benefits for Africa.
Africa is a huge opportunity for economic development. As a great people, willing to partner for progress and development. What is lacking will be the focus of the FOCAC and the areas that we can collaborate to make the relationship mutually beneficial to all of us.
Chinese Premier Li Qiang was more specific on Nigeria-China relations as he said China stands ready to strengthen the alignment of development strategies with the largest African nation. Under the framework of high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, he emphasized that China would deepen cooperation with Nigeria in areas of infrastructure construction, finance, agriculture and fisheries, and expand cooperation in marine economy, clean energy and digital economy. Li Qiang expressed China's willingness to import more quality products from Nigeria, increase bilateral people-to-people and cultural exchanges and cooperation, enhance coordination in multilateral fields, safeguard the common interest of the developing countries, and uphold international fairness and justice. From Beijing, Musbah and Wahab, NT News.
And back home, the National Economic Council has reconstituted the Committee on Flood Mitigation and Adaptation to alleviate the plight of affected states. The Council has also endorsed the N774 program as a primary platform for combating malnutrition in Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports on this and other issues deliberated on at the meeting.
This is the 144th National Economic Council meeting and the 6th in the year 2024, chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, with governors and other stakeholders. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, on behalf of the state governors, commended the federal government on the Flood Situation Intervention Support Fund of 3 billion naira to each state.
More devastating along the northeast axis, where the major artery between Kano and Maiduguri has been cut off, with devastating effects on households, schools, bridges, and other means of livelihoods. Lives were lost, and a lot of properties were also destroyed.
Monday will be the deadline for all the states of the Federation to submit detail of damages, including farms, schools, bridges that have been affected by the last flood. And Mr. Chairman mentioned that it will be taken into consideration for appropriate support to the various states.
On issues of healthcare services, the National Economic Council endorses the N774 program as a primary platform for combating malnutrition in Nigeria, emphasizing partnership among the 3 tiers of government, a priority.
The challenge that we see on nutrition. We are distributing multiple micronutrient supplements that have been mobilized, free. 1.3 million doses have already been distributed, and each one of those 1.3 million packages will serve a pregnant woman 6 months. That will be for the mother, but also for her child.
The Council at the meeting directed state governments to establish Food and Nutrition Security Task Force, calling on development partners to mobilize resources to complement government efforts to address malnutrition. On state policing, sequel to upsurge of insecurity in some parts of the country, the National Economic Council directed 4 states yet to submit their report to do so by Monday, September 9th, for proper attention to complete the report on the establishment of state police.
So that we would have a robust security in our nation. And for that purpose, sometime in the past, NEC considered the establishment of state police and asked states to make submissions for consideration.
The Council also received updates on the Federation account.
On the following accounts, the foreign excess crude accounts is starting at 473,754.47 cents. Natural resources account, 3,551,078,534 naira 57 kobo.
Prior to the meeting, Vice President Kashim Shettima received Bill Gates and Aliko Dangote, and at the end of the council meeting, the council appreciated the two foundations for the support to Nigeria in several initiatives. From the State House, Abrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
And away from the State House now, the 10th House of Representatives is working on modalities to introduce internship program for outstanding graduates for Legislative Mentorship Initiative with 50% increase in number of beneficiaries. Speaker Tajuddin Abbas stated this during engagement with fellows of the Legislative Mentorship Initiative held at the National Assembly Library. National Assembly correspondent Joshua Ogunjude takes it from here.
Currently, parts of reforms on constitutional amendment focus on the enhancement of participation of youths, women, and individuals with disabilities in decision-making.
We have promised you that we are going to take some of you for internship. That internship will expose you to all the various nitty-gritties of what parliamentary system is doing.
The House also seeks the enhancement of LMI through bankrolling of fellow study at the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies.
Make sure that the geopolitical zones that have not been represented are the ones to be considered at this particular junction.
The National Assembly is also working on implementing 35% women inclusion in civil service administration.
For the very first time that I know in this country, we are having young people, about 5 of them, as ministers. And in the very first time, you have a youth ministry that in the real sense of it.
In our cohort, we have a 50-50 distribution of men and women, and then also we have 2 persons with disabilities in our midst.
To urge the government to, as much as possible, try to implement the provisions of the Disability Act of 2018.
I've got a first-hand exposure on what it is to be a legislator in Nigeria.
You understand that, okay, reps are not there to do projects. They're there for oversight.
High point of the interactive session was the donation of 10 million naira to the cohort by the Speaker of the Green Chamber, Tajuddin Abbas. From the National Assembly, Joshua Ogunjude.
Meanwhile, concerned by the hardship being faced by retirees in assessing their entitlements, House of Representatives Committee on Pension is engaging pension administrators and other critical stakeholders to find a workable solution to the issues. National Assembly correspondent Isa Mohammed has this.
Appearing before the committee are pension fund administrators and other relevant stakeholders to understand their role, trust, and funding of the scheme for a better life of retirees.
There's supposed to be increment in pension payment to pensioners. What have we done to keep behind this policy? Since our inception, we have paid about 286,000 retirees.
It is the accrued right that is the problem. Because if you don't pay the accrued right, it makes it near impossible for you to be able to pay the person his lump sum benefit.
By the time this committee finishes work and submits a report, I have no doubt in my mind the pension industry in Nigeria will be better.
The public hearing continues with other stakeholders. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri Erewa, is urging unity amongst Africans as she employs Nigerians in the diaspora with dual citizenship to keep in touch with home and always be proud of their Nigerian citizenship. Dabiri Erewa said this when she received Miss Universe Nigeria, Chidima Adeshino, at NIDCOM's office in Lagos. The NIDCOM boss stated that Chindima's resilience, given the circumstances surrounding her emergence as Miss Universe Nigeria, as admirable and represents the creative energies and belligerence of Nigerians all over.
We'll work with you, your next steps and whatever it is you decide to do, and see how we can support your family, yourself, as you start this new life.
So it has been an amazing experience. I haven't really been out to experience more, and I'm really proud to say that I'm going to stay here and explore. So yes, after everything else, Nigeria is home now.
Miss Universe Nigeria Chidinma Additional, accompanied by Guy Morabers, organizers of the Miss Universe Nigeria beauty pageant, who said they were glad to have offered Chidinma the platform to contest, noted that she is to represent Nigeria at the Miss World 2024 in Mexico later in the year. Miss Chidinma Additional had been forced to withdraw from the beauty pageant in South Africa due to her dual nationality, though having been born there 23 years ago. Now, Nigeria has been elected as one of the 4 vice presidents of the Africa Union of Broadcasting in a keenly contested election held this Wednesday at the ongoing General Assembly of the Union in Gaborone. Nigeria was a member of the Executive Council that was dissolved at the end of its 2-year tenure on Tuesday. A 4-day AUB General Assembly featured 6 panel discussions around the theme, the future of African media facing the challenges of new technologies and climate change. Nigeria's contributions to the growth and development of the broadcast industry in Africa, especially in the establishment and sharing of contents on the AUB Cloud platform by the NTA, was acknowledged and appreciated by member countries. The Director General of the NTA, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembis, who is to represent Nigeria as the Vice President of the AUB, is expected to bring his wealth of experience to further develop the broadcast industry in Africa. The Sultan of Sokoto and President General Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, declares today, Wednesday, 4th September 2024, as the first day of Rabiul Awal 1446 AH. This was contained in a statement signed by the Chairman, Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs by the Sultanate Council, Sokoto, Professor Sambo Wali Junaidu. Now time for our first break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. It's 17 days to the Edo State governorship election. Political parties are now on the finish lines of selling their manifestos to citizens of the state, canvassing votes to enable their candidates occupy the #1 seat. Political activities have also heightened in the state, with INEC engagements with political parties, security agencies and other stakeholders to ensure a credible poll in the state. And now we have 2 candidates participated in the election, joining us live all the way from our Benin Network studio. We have Paul Okungbowa of the Young People's Party, YPP, and Isaiah Osifo of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. Many thanks for joining us on News Extra. All right, let's start with the APGA's candidate, Isaiah Osifo. The election is very much at hand. How optimistic are you to scale the hurdles in the polls to emerge victorious?
Thank you so much. We are optimistic because the Edo State is an enlightening state. The level of political socialization is high. It has been seen severally that the people are always determined to make a choice that is informed and that is enlightened. We know that this election is going to be a test between real democracy and invasion from those that are not part of the democratic process. And the Edo voters that I know will go for those that they know that are sincere and patriotic participants in the politics of the state. So we in APGA, my candidacy is based on the fact that the people of Edo State will make a choice that will help in the entrenchment of democracy in Edo State. And knowing that they are going to make a choice that we and true democracy in Edo State, we are optimistic despite the propaganda of the other political parties or the candidates as case may be. The grassroots politician, the man that is a community leader, the man that is committed to the socio-economic development of this state, know over the years will definitely triumph over invaders who have no single record of participating in the democracy or participating in the electoral process or participating in the policy of the state. So, based on this premise, I am optimistic that the people will make an enlightened choice and they will choose the man that has the credentials of a community leader.
All right, I like your optimism. Now let's find out from the candidate of the YPP, Paul Okungbowa, what kind of reactions are you getting from, Edo people regarding your party's popularity and chances of winning the election?
Our chance of winning the election is not far from the fact that we are fortunate to be young people who are obviously tired of the old political order, the sequence of leadership. Very importantly, even in the face of the obvious dollarizers who have tried to politically annihilate those of us who do not have the financial muscle to embark on such journey. But what has really kept us afloat in the hearts of our people is that our narration is superb. We have been able to bring solutions to questions. We have been able to put before the electorate here in Edo State the concept of how we intend to fix XYZ problem. It's not just enough that we are campaigning that we're going to make rain in the desert. It is that we have actually demonstrated how we intend to make this rain in the desert. On the premise of this, we are optimistic that the acceptance just now is that for the first time, a nobody who has no political resume, who has no old money bag behind him, who has no godfather, but rather has godfather, but has been able to rally young persons who have been victims of the maladministration that has been occasioned over a very long period of time. Young persons who seek nothing other than prosperity, young persons who seek nothing other than creativity in leadership space. We have been able to harness this space, and we are hoping that by God's grace and by the collective will of the people, when push comes to shove, come September 21st, these young persons, particularly those between the ages of 18 to 50, 55, who are the real victim, the actual victim.
Mr.
And the idea
thank you.
of friends, also cabal, who have passed power from friends to friends. We are hoping that with the organic narration,
and of course change the narrative. Because of time, let's just move on, Mr. Okungbowa, if you can hear me. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Okungbowa. Because of time, we need to move on to the next question. Of course, we're glad that you're answering the questions of Edo people and, yes, selling your party to them. Now, back to Mr. Osifo. Voter apathy is one factor usually experienced in election periods. So how much voter education has your party put out there just so that they can win the day on September 21?
How much voter education?
Mr. Osifo, did you get my question? What is your party doing as regards voter apathy, and how are you trying to check that trend just so that you get a lot of people come out on September 21 to vote for your party?
Yes, the essence of our campaign is to engage in massive voter education, because we know that the reason why we have political alienations is because of this insufficient information as to the importance of the average electorate in the determination of who governs them. So we are talking to them that they should not wait for politicians to come and bribe them, or politicians to come and woo them, or politicians to come and coerce them to vote. It is their legitimate right, which is franchise. And if they do that, they will be a major participant in determining the man that will be the next governor of Edo State. And one of these reasons that is responsible for this political arrogance of somebody who has never voted in his life say he's going to be a governor, because they believe that they're going to capitalize on this, old apathy where people do not really come out to participate. We have about 2 million voters. Over the years, we'll be recording less than 30% participation. But we hope that with what we have now, if we can get 50, 55, 60% participation, the enlightenment that we have driven in the process of our campaign will be sufficient to motivate these voters into patriotic part as to know that they determine who should be the governor, not the name of the political party, not be decided by the political party, to be very conscious of the credentials, of the antecedent of the person that they will elect. So we're raising that bar to give them these socializations that democracy is anchored on the people, not on a political party, not on sloganeering, not on rhetoric.
Fantastic,
Having a fast of the character.
all of that plays out on September 21. But let's find out from the YPP. Are you worried about vote buying and other issues of concern, talking about security challenges during the election? Mr. Paul Okungboa, can you hear me? All right, looks like we have a connection issue, but of course it was very nice engaging with Paul Okungboa and Isaiah Osifo, both candidates in the Edo governorship election. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Let's see this story, and coming from Zenith Bank to continue in its quest for increasing the number of and volume of exportable non-oil products. Zenith Bank, in its 9th International Trade Seminar on non-oil exports, gathered stakeholders to discuss ways of harnessing treasures in the sector, charting innovative course towards sustaining the nation's economy through prioritizing non-oil exportation.
Conversation being led by Zenith Bank for the past 9 editions after developing innovative financial products and services in the non-oil sector to train and retrain non-oil exporters, transform over 100 entrepreneurs into experienced exporters, and collaborate with African Continental Free Trade Area to launch a state-of-the-art portal designed to advance trade across the continent. All these have resulted into financing over 40% non-oil export transactions in Nigeria, amounting to $1.8 billion.
This seminar has acted as Nigeria's most strategic export platform, gathering non-oil export stakeholders to interact, discover opportunities, and proffer solutions to the challenges that exist in this sector.
Speakers at the seminar urged Zenith Bank to extend and sustain these gestures.
There's huge potential for growth to achieve a non-oil export-driven economic development for the country. We have to work out a cohesive plan where everyone identifies and fulfills their role.
I'm going to even call on other, not necessarily banks, but other stakeholders in the export value chain to push so that we can have this kind of engagement until we get it right.
This year's seminar with the theme, Nigeria Non-Oil Export Industry, Awakening the Giant, gave stakeholders and panelists room to examine various facets of the economy, and with Zenith Bank leading in financing the non-oil export industry as of the first quarter of 2024. Participants say coming up with such platform for stakeholders in the sector is apt. In Lagos, Lanre Bilayi, NTA News.
Let's have more business news. Musa Abubakar is our guide. Musa.
Thank you, Henry. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit says it's strengthening collaborations and deploying latest technologies to reposition the unit in a bid to curb illicit financial flows in the country and improve Nigeria's credit rating.
The NFIU has a very robust relationship with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and we also have extremely good relationships with subnational authorities, so Inland Revenue Services from states. So what we do is we provide them with the financial information that they really need to understand where are these monies going, where are these illicit financial flows, and how can they restrain them and bring them back into the national purse and contribute to national development.
Crude oil fell more than 1% on Wednesday, tumbling below $70 per barrel and raising speculation that OPEC Plus could delay production increases scheduled to begin next month. Brent crude futures settled down $1.05 or 1.42% to $72.70 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures settled down $1.14 or 1.62% at $69.20. The equities market closed midweek trading on a bearish note as investors lose 193.1 billion naira. The all-share index shed 0.35% to close 96,537.48 points at the end of today's trading session. A total of 389 million shares in 12,039 deals, corresponding to a market value of 8 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 18% decline in volume, 21% decline in turnover, and 4% decline in deals. Market capitalization declined to 55.5 trillion naira. Owando recorded the highest volume of 37.2 million traded shares, followed by Universal Insurance Company, Transcorp Nigeria, and FTN Cocoa Processors. That's business news. It's back to you, Henry.
Many thanks, Musa, for the updates. And of course, as fuel prices soar in Nigeria due to deregulation of the downstream sector, many motorists are exploring alternatives such as converting their petrol cars to compressed natural gas, CNG. NTA's energy correspondent Lydia Sampson also undertook this conversion, motivated by the desire to experience the energy mix. Lydia now shares the experience on her CNG journey so far.
Reported the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas interface with motorists who converted their vehicles. Now, as a reporter, I've become part of the story. Spending 45,000 naira or more on petrol every 2 weeks, despite limiting my movement, is no joke. But since converting my car to CNG, I only spent 14,000 naira in a month. I now understand the unbelievable cost-effective revolution of CNG. The process involves installing a CNG system, which includes a storage tank and modified fuel injectors. Despite initial fears about safety, many experts I had interviewed affirmed that CNG is a cleaner, safer option, emitting less carbon than petrol. Their assurances ignited my interest, and I must say I have found that the conversion not only reduced my fuel expenses, but also contributed to a smaller carbon footprint. With the federal government's push for cleaner, cheaper energy, including free conversion services for commercial vehicles, many are already following suit.
Ultimately, the way to go is CNG, and that is why the government has for a long time been clamoring for people. In fact, most recently, there's even free combustion. The Presidential Committee on CNG, like for us, they have made us almost all our states in the country, 36 plus FCT. They've given us about 100 kits free.
This shift for many other CNG users represents a significant step towards sustainable transportation in the face of rising petrol prices and environmental challenges.
It's really nice, and in the aspect of the economy now, we that use it for business, we enjoy it better than fuel.
Yeah, so far so good. It has been good. It has been awesome. But the only challenges we still have is the fact that the cost of conversion is still expensive.
Laudable as the CNG initiative is, the major challenge, motorists say, is sparsity of CNG filling stations.
So if the government can give us where we can be buying the gas in the city center, everywhere, the filling station, we can be refilling, it will make life easier.
Key players believe that as the number of motorists using CNG increases, demand for CNG will also increase and attract more investment in the CNG add-on stations. Already, more CNG stations are springing up just as demand is growing. Can you believe it is no longer the driving and out CNG top-up as queues are building up as CNG users increase? This is attributed to the fact that only 2 CNG stations are continuously dispensing CNG in the FCT. However, our investigation indicates that hope is in the horizon as NMPC Limited final touches on CNG add-on stations will provide more alternative relevant filling stations. By actively participating in the CNG story going forward, I'll be using my CNG experience to illustrate the CNG revolution. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
Congratulations, Lydia. Now, looking at other stories, to some, it's a battlefield without smoke. But to more than 150 countries that shook the hands of the China Belt and Road Initiative, it's a lifeline for a lifetime. The continent of Africa has witnessed an unprecedented infrastructure development, with the continent's most populous nation experiencing a daybreak from a nightmare of infrastructure deficit. Abdullahi Mohammed examines the impacts of the Belt and Road Initiative in Nigeria.
When Xi Jinping, the president of the Republic of China, dusted the Han Dynasty's Silk Road Initiative, reintroduced it, coined Belt and Road, he envisaged the reconnection of Asia, Africa, and Europe, leveraging on the development of land and maritime networks. Within decades, 150 countries and 30 international organizations have put pen to the BRI document. Africa stands out among the beneficiaries.
Infrastructure from Kenya to Tanzania to Zambia, there is Tazara railway there. Then coming down to Uganda, down to South Sudan, and each and every African country, especially in the eastern coast of Africa, they have this particular infrastructure built up, which emanates from the Belt and Road Initiative.
Nigeria did not lag behind, pursuing the goose that laid the golden eggs, and now it has begun to count the blessings.
The international airport in Kano, Lagos, Port Harcourt, these are all part of what? Investment in infrastructure development that China has carried out in Nigeria. Then Abuja, Kaduna Standard Gauge Railway also is part of the infrastructure construction and development by China. And in terms of benefit, you come to understand that it is bringing revenue. It has also created job opportunities to the local people.
I understand the road from Kefi to Okwanga to Lafia to Makudi. The first phase has been completed, a beautiful project, and the second phase from Makudi to Nightmare in Enugu State is ongoing. This is with the support of the Chinese government through a loan. So I can say that the relationship between Nigeria and China is quite beneficial.
With infrastructure paving the way, exchange swelling towards $23 billion mark in 2023, Nigeria is now back in China, opening new chapters of mutual benefits.
That would mean electricity. That would mean barges with nuclear energy that will be supplying the grid. And there will be so many of them. So it will help to stabilize electricity in Nigeria. And of course, the technology itself, nuclear technology or atomic, depending on how you look at it, whether it's fission, nuclear fission or nuclear fusion, is something that we need to learn, we need to harness, because it has so many applications. Apart from electricity, a lot of it is also used in medicine.
The signatures on the document and a premier handshake point to the sealing of a more beneficial friendship in the future. Abdullah Mohammed, NTA News.
Another news in line with the federal government's commitment to upholding standards. The Nigerian Immigration Service is implementing reforms aimed at enhancing the nation's passport system. The initiative focuses on improving the quality of Nigerian passports, promoting local content, and ensuring compliance with international standards set by the International Civil Aviation Organization. Correspondent Solomon Aidehi reports on a public sensitization campaign organized by the Nigerian Immigration Service in Lokoja.
The Kogi State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Service embarked on a public sensitization campaign through a roadshow in Lokoja, the state capital. The procession started at Paparanda, moving through various streets before ending at Lokongoma Market.
We are out this morning to sensitize the public on the new passport reforms.
The Comptroller of Immigration Service, Kogi State Command, Jerry Afamefone Omezi, and Ruth Osho, the passport control officer, addressed the public about the new passport, explaining that the reform is necessary to enhance the quality and security of the Nigerian passport. They acknowledged concerns about the cost increase, but explained that it is justified by the improved features and production processes.
The mandate is that we should improve our services to our clientele. So I can assure you that we have improved on that. What used to have happened before is no longer happening again.
So even if it falls inside the water, it cannot spoil. So the durability of the features of the data page is one of the features.
The 32-page passport, valid for 5 years, now costs 50,000 naira, while the 64-page passport, valid for 10 years, is priced at 100,000 naira. This sensitization campaign will continue for the next 3 months, giving citizens ample time to learn about the new reforms and benefit from the improved services. In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehi, NTA News.
And from Lokoja, we head to Kano now, where the news of a staff of the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, who returned a huge amount of money to the owner, further amplify how Nigeria is blessed with honest citizens. Though a cleaner with a firm defied the temptation despite the current economic situation. Yohanasu Hassan Barrow shares a moment with this patriotic Nigerian.
It is a typical early morning in Kode, a community in Dawakin Kudu local government area of Kano State. Our visit is to spotlight a young patriotic Nigerian who has demonstrated exceptional honesty and integrity at his duty post. This young man returned $10,000 to the management of the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, NAHACO, an act that has garnered widespread admiration.
I am so happy, and everyone in our community is proud of him.
I thank God. My prayer is for his younger ones to emulate him.
They cited it. As what I had, he looked for his immediate supervisor, who was not present in the flight. He now saw the station manager of the airline, Mr. Karim Gad. He now called the attention of the man and handed the money over to him.
The time I found this money, all I had in my bank account was 3,800 naira.
This is not the first time Dankode, who has been working with the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, is showing this kind of attitude of returning items. This is a clear sign of honesty among Nigerians, which many people believe it does not exist.
He's an honest staff, dedicated, and actually we are proud of him.
In recognition of his outstanding character, Dankode has been converted to a permanent and pensionable employee with NAHACO. He has also received a double promotion, being named as brand ambassador for the company and rewarded with cash. In Kano, Yohanasu Hassan Barrow, NTA News.
A very proud Nigerian, and of course, Nigerians are proud of him too. You know what to say, honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. All right, it's still News Extra. More after this break. Stay with us. Good to have you back. The federal government has approved the establishment of a youth house in Abuja, an innovative gathering place to address the needs of young individuals from diverse cultural and social backgrounds. Minister of State for Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, stated this at a media conference in Abuja. Olayinka Ojo reports that the event was also an opportunity to roll out other government youth programs.
White-collar jobs cannot cater for the teeming youth population globally. With Nigeria inclusive, finding a working and monitoring solution is of essence. Hence, the plan to establish a youth house. The youth house, when established, will serve as a point of convergence for youths of diverse backgrounds and is expected to meet the consistent yearnings and aspirations of youths such as unemployment, jobs, and wealth creation.
Goals of the youth house would be to help the youth develop important life skills such as leadership, teamwork, cooperation, and communication.
The initiative is a strategy of decentralizing access to government's programs will not be limited to FCT alone. Youths will be exposed to skills that can be exported in the near future.
The youth greenhouse in all the local governments would be coordinated in partnership with all youth-related government agency and private sector.
In keeping to the pro-youth agenda of his government, President Bola Tinubu on August 27, 2024 gave approval for the establishment of a youth house in Abuja, an action that reaffirms his commitment to the welfare of Nigerian youths. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Similarly, the National Council on Skills Implementation in Nigerian Schools has convened to review implementation document for the program. This meeting comes as the federal government receives a proposal for the creation of a renewed Hope Skill Center of Excellence aimed at fostering a highly skilled workforce. Zenret Digmon has details.
As the launch of skills integration into schools approaches, the Ministry of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, emphasizes the need to address all outstanding issues to ensure effective delivery of the program.
This is an activity that is going to interface closely with the private sector to strengthen the capacity of the agencies that will be responsible for it, provide certification and some level of accreditation through the national NSQF.
In a separate meeting with development partners, Professor Mamman reiterates federal government's commitment to improve Nigeria's economic and educational systems.
Creating technicians and engineers give also a huge opportunity to the country in order to import industry from abroad.
Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, met with officials from the National Association of Nigerian Colleges of Education Students, NANSES. During the meeting, the students expressed concerns over the conversion of colleges of education to universities of education, arguing that this move could undermine the quality of education in the country.
We see this as just an attempt to eradicate teachers' education in Nigeria, which is not possible, which is not even doing good to the nation as a whole.
We are getting towards getting subspecialties in education. For instance, now, early childhood education care and development is an area that is receiving international attention, and they are working seriously to improve on the curriculum so that we can have skilled teachers who can address learning crisis at that level.
In addition, the leadership of NANSES commended federal government for addressing the issue of high electricity tariffs in tertiary institutions. In Abuja, Zenred Dingmun, NTA News.
Meanwhile, nothing demonstrates fighting the Boko Haram ideology by the Borno State government than commitment to education, visible, and a huge investment in information communication technology sector. Abubakar Musa will tell us more about the sector's phenomenal growth, how the youths are taking advantage to become relevant among their peers globally, and how this development is gradually making the state a force to reckon with nationally. Take a listen.
To develop an artificial intelligence-based plant disease detector.
It has provided us with a platform that we can come and showcase our talents.
These youths are all products of the ongoing
ICT revolution in Borno State, speaking on the skills and knowledge acquired so far within just a short period of time, following the establishment of an agency to cater for that, among other related programs put in place by the state government, as part of commitment to ensure that a larger percentage of youths embrace digital skills in line with global trend. State-of-the-art ICT facilities have been provided across local government areas of Borno, with an appreciable number of youths showing receptivity, especially in learning latest ICT techniques like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and robotics.
We are treated Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and CorelDRAW.
Before, we don't know how we are going to type document, graphic designs, internet browsing.
It has brought ease, it has brought convenience, it's safe, it's fast, and it has helped the productivity of several people.
Out of curiosity and impressed by the rapid development of information and communication technology in Borno, News Extra sought to find out the motive.
The governor put in place about 21, so far 21 digital literacy centers, out of which 13 has been completed, 5 commissioned, and about 8 will be commissioned in the next 2 months.
All the wherewithal needed as far as information communication technology is concerned has been provided in every ramification in Borno State. What is now left is for the youths, especially those without ICT skills, to ensure reciprocation by making the best use of such golden opportunity. From Gubio in Borno State, Abubakar Musa, NTA News.
Many thanks to Abubakar for the updates. And away from the home of peace now, the National Assembly is pushing for more budgetary allocation to the education sector to address decay in infrastructure in public schools. Member representing Akwanga, Wamba, Nasarawa Egom Federal Constituency at the House of Representatives, Jeremiah Umaru, said this in Akwanga when he interacted with students from the 35 schools across the Northern Senatorial District of Nasarawa State. Aliyu Tijani reports.
Is a growing preference for private schools over public schools in Nigeria due to what many attribute to poor infrastructure and decline in quality of teaching in public schools. The narrative which member representing Akwanga, Wamba Nasra Igom Federal Constituency at the National Assembly, Jeremiah Umaru, is pushing for a paradigm shift to return public schools to those glorious days they were a referral citadel of learning. The lawmaker, at an interactive session with students as part of his constituency engagements, emphasized the need for government at all levels to allocate more funds to the education sector in line with UNESCO recommendation.
Is to build the confidence level of our younger ones. The whole idea is to wake them up in the academic portion.
During the engagement between the lawmaker and students across Nasarawa North, a school debate was held to enhance public speaking skills among students. Aliyu Tijani, NTA News.
And still talking education, the House of Representatives Committee on University Education continues its oversight function in the nation's ivory towers with the Southwest region, reminding federal universities management to always follow due process in spending internally generated revenue and in recruitment of staff. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that on a positive note, there is a report of compliance in the composition of principal officers in most of the universities visited in the zone.
The issue of internally generated revenue and spendings without appropriation remains the major problem in all federal universities visited. The committee says it is all out to correct those anomalies.
There is no evidence of 25% remittance here. Remittance of those amount, because these are classified now as an IGR.
If you look at the projection side, for that page 36, number 1, general impress, the management had it in mind to spend about 23.5 million, but at the end of the day, we ended up spending 21,957,500. Ditto for other items listed here too.
When you are trying to cover, you have to affirm, you have to swear, you have to affirm you. And then the implication of affirming you is that you are going to be committed for party.
At the Federal University of Technology, Akure, the committee commended the institution for maintaining the federal character principles in their nominal role. In the submission of the Federal University Oye Ekiti in Ekiti State, the committee identified some infractions.
If you look at the total of your overhead expenditure, which is over 4 billion overhead, where the document shows even the total amount approved or appropriated for you is only 109 million.
The legislators inspected some facilities at the university and are expected to continue with the oversight function at other federal universities in the zone. Mohammed Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Away from issues on education, now the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, is facilitating the development of a comprehensive training and certification program to address specific needs of engineering artisans in relevant sectors of the economy. This comes as the regulatory body inaugurates the Sector Skills Council for Engineering in Nigeria. Tokwe Alabi will fill us in.
The Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, had in 2021 said 80% of artisans found on construction sites across the country are foreigners, with Nigeria losing $4.5 billion annually to foreign artisans.
To tackle critical issues in the skills development sector.
And at this 32nd Engineering Assembly in Abuja, inaugurating a 10-man Sector Skills Council for Engineering in Nigeria, COREN believes will address the 10 million artisans deficit in the market to a population of over 200 million and a housing deficit of 20 million.
These ambitious goals align with the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, as well as the objective of the National Skill Council's framework.
These licensed artisans can be deployed into national infrastructural projects instead of importing labor from ECOWAS and from Asia.
We assure you that we work diligently to make that happen. I believe at the next Current Assembly, we will give a report.
With the theme regulating engineering profession for shared prosperity in Nigeria, stakeholders believe the time is now for the council to synergize with other relevant bodies to curb quackery and reduce the country's high unemployment rate.
So to provide highly skilled workforce for the Nigerian economy, we need to focus on building on the food soldiers.
This is definitely a way to go for most countries who would like to develop and become an important contribution to not only to Nigeria but also to the world.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers will continue to collaborate with COREN. We do realize the fact that there is no doubt that skills development is the way to go.
With this inauguration, COREN is expected to leverage technology and digital platforms to provide accessible and flexible training opportunities for artisans to herald positive impacts on the industry and the economy. In Abuja, Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
Another break is due. Remain tuned. Thank you for staying with us. A federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation says it is leaving no stone unturned to ensure the protection and sustenance of critical national water and sanitation assets. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Temlon Otsev, stated this when he visited the Dadinkowa Dam in Gombe State, where he debunked reports that the dam is collapsing due to flooding. Nafisa Umar Garba reports.
It is an assessment visit by the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation to Dadinkowa to clarify the unfounded information published by some national dailies insinuating collapse of Dadinkowa Dam due to flooding. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation reassured Nigerians that the ministry is always on the alert to safeguard lives and property of communities where water infrastructure are cited.
The information that came out in prints and other social medias are actually misleading. The dam is supplying its best in terms of irrigation, water supply, and the hydropower components.
We in the Ministry of Water Resources are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that our critical national asset is adequately protected.
When we saw it, I saw it yesterday, somebody sent the link. When I opened it, I was shocked. We don't know the source of the information. We don't know the indices they used.
The multi-million naira Dad-Inkowa Dam project, apart from providing electricity, has also been selected for the federal government's special irrigation project that will ensure food sufficiency in line with the president's renewed hope agenda. The Dad-Inkowa farmlands were submerged due to recent flooding in the area. The dam was not affected. Nefisa Umar Garba, NTA News.
Now let's head to the Center of Excellence. The August break is finally over, and the cloud gathering momentum for more intense rainfall, according to weather predictions. But for communities around the Ogun River, it is that time of the year for pending danger, simply because the release of water from Oya Dam comes with lots of challenges to their existence. With this in view, Michael Olaleye visited Teladashe community in the Mile 12 axis of Lagos to know how one of such communities is preparing for its yearly visitor.
An unusual quietness permeating the atmosphere of this vibrant community, the type that makes it difficult to comprehend that this entire stretch connecting 6 settlements is home to close to 10,000 inhabitants. The subject of apprehension lies here, with the rising water level increasingly beaming with threats.
We welcoming our August visitor, that is yearly visitor, has been so fearful because there won't be easy movement when this tide rises and the flood comes around. And this tide, when the flood comes in, it gets to my chest.
This is the time of the year the river gains momentum, with these boats here offering the only access to Maidon Orile Patile community. Residents say the time to relocate is near, with many yet to know their next line of action.
While waiting the next boat, Zainab Kadri, a nursing mother, has a next plan at her fingertips, and it will definitely be the same like previous years.
Whenever the water is getting to some stages that we can't cope again, I'll try to pack my families with my children. I'll tell my husband to look for a place to stay.
The community is not new to the harrowing experiences that come with the release of water from the Onyo Dam. And in my conversation with Jeremiah Fasomi, the pastor of a church within the area, the effects sometimes could be devastating.
In the year 1999, many people died in this water, and about 12 members of my church died there.
While using adaptive strategies through the provision of boats to navigate internal roads when the water eventually comes at full strength and building water breakers, the community members say fixing of the only bridge connecting them to land could minimize their plight.
We built the pedestrian bridge on a self-help, but around 2022, the bridge collapsed.
While I walk around the streets, this scene caught my attention. It is similar to a case of finding fun in discomforts, and the reality here is that people of Teledalashe community and others around here have mastered the act of dwelling with their dreaded neighbors. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
Station time saves 9. Unfortunately, the story of flooding is the same in different states. And in Anambra State, the government has urged those in the flood-prone communities to put their houses in order and move to upland and holding centers. This is with a view to mitigate disaster and manage welfare of residents on the impending flood. Benson Osadebe reports that the alert stems from the warning by the Nigerian Hydrological Agency on activities in Lagdo Dam.
Lives are always shattered, economic activities devastated owing to annual flooding. Though not by their making, they have no choice than to take their fate into their own hands. Flooding has remained a nightmare to these people that have experienced it. In Anambra State, 10 local government councils have been identified to be sitting on the floodplains, including Obaru, Onitsha South, Anambra East and West, Ayamelum, among others. Based on the ongoing activities in Lagdo Dam in Cameroon and the consequent alert by the Nigerian Hydrological Agency, the Anambra State government has activated the alert signals from the state levels to the would-be affected communities on mitigating factors.
The Minister of Health is involved in this planning. Also, the Minister of Public Utilities, for sanitation, the water and light, even education. So every ministry is involved.
And those on the priority list are the old people, children, and women. Of course, it is given that the men will always find their way to safety.
Other critical stakeholders re-echoed the state's level of preparedness in managing the situation in the holding camps in the event of flooding.
All the non-perishable items have been procured.
In the past, I moved the motion that the state government should create a additional, makeshift camp for people.
We need also appeal to NEMA and SEMA. We need more befitting holding centers so that people can have the confidence that once this natural disaster comes, they'll be able to have somewhere else to call home.
From the look of things, warnings have been issued to those living on the river banks to evacuate to upper lands to avoid disaster. From Anambra State SEMA office, Oka, Benson, Osadebe, NTNU.
Let's pause here. News Extra continues shortly. Let's take a look at the foreign scene quickly now. Boats conveying migrants to Europe capsizes off the Libyan coast, just as another boat rips apart in the English Channel, killing 12 migrants. Khalil Mohammed brings us details on these and other stories on the Global Update.
The Coast Guard in the Libyan town of Tobruk said the boat was carrying 32 migrants and that 9 had been rescued. The boat sailed from Bab el-Zaytun and capsized after its engine suffered a mechanical failure. The victims are said to be from Egypt and Syria. In recent times, North Africa has emerged as a dominant transit point for migrants fleeing war and poverty. Similarly, a boat carrying migrants ripped apart as they attempted to reach Britain from northern France, plunging dozens into the treacherous waterway and leaving 12 dead. An official time dates the deadliest migrant accident in the Channel this year. China, the world's second largest economy, is Africa's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade hitting $167.8 billion in the first half of 2024. China says it will continue to actively enhance cooperation with Africa. The representative Chinese government on African affairs said there should be no return to the old era of colonial exploitation and Cold War confrontation.
Many African economies are in a desperate situation, and the international financial system as it exists today is unfair, outdated. It was prepared after the Second World War. It represented a world that no longer exists.
Chinese president called on Africa to see China as a harmless partner, one with clean intent. Khalil Mohammed, NTN.
Let's now take a peep at the world of sports. Badi Adele has that for us. Badi.
Many thanks, Yere. It was a good day for Nigerian sports, so let's begin with Paralympics, as Esther Ogechinwogo has won Nigeria's second medal at the ongoing Paralympic Games, clinching the silver medal in the women's up to 41 kilograms para-powerlifting. Nwogo set 2 new Paralympic records with her last 2 attempts, lifting 112 kg and 118 kg respectively. Only for China's Kui to set a new record of 119 kilograms to deny her the gold. Team Nigeria has now moved to 64th on the medal table with 1 silver and the bronze earlier won by Mariam Eniola Bolaji in para badminton. To football now, Super Eagles forward Ademola Lookman has been nominated for the 2024 Ballon d'Or award, with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo conspicuously missing from the list released earlier today. Lookman made the 13-man 2024 Ballon d'Or shortlist after scoring 20 goals and making 10 assists for club and country in the 2023-2024 season. The 26-year-old won the 2023-2024 Europa League with Atalanta and scored a historic hat-trick for the Italians in the final against Bayer Leverkusen. He becomes the 9th African to be nominated, the 9th Nigerian to be nominated for the coveted award after Finidi George, Daniel Amokachi and Austin J.J. Okocha in 1995, Nwako Kanu in 1996 and 1999, Victor Peba in 1997, Sunday Olise in 1998, Asisat Oshuala in 2022 and 2023, and Victor Osimhen in 2023. And of course, it's the only African on the list this time around. Now, let's quickly talk football and let you know that Nigeria's Falconets, we're still talking football, Nigeria's under-20 women's team will hope to make it 2 wins in 2 games and seal qualification to the next round of the 2024 FIFA Women's World Cup in Colombia when they face Germany in about 30 minutes from now. The Falconets are currently second in Group D with 3 points after overcoming South Korea 1-0 in their opening game on Monday morning.
Expect that we're going to fight for our nation. We're going to do our best.
All out victory. We're definitely not happy about the previous 2 results, and now we can only put it right in the next 2 games.
A little mix-up there. That was the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You know, they've been intensifying training ahead of their game against Rwanda, and of course the earlier one will come on Saturday against Benin Republic. Again, do not forget, Nigeria will be playing Germany tonight in the Under-20 Women's World Cup. With that, we're done with sports. Let's now return to Yere for the next thing on the bulletin.
Many thanks, Badi, if you like, Badilistic, for that update. That's News Extra tonight. But let's close on a beautiful note. Tonight is CAF African Footballer of the Year. Nigeria's Victor Osimhen has been on the lips of soccer fans for the past month, with many monitoring his most likely destinations. Chelsea Football Club in England, French Giants, PSG, and Saudi Arabian outfit Al Ahly. This week, he headed to Istanbul, Turkey, to team up with Galatasaray. We'll leave you with a stunning masked ball used as a welcome video for the Nigerian striker. Have a good night.